So, dear students, today we are going to discuss in this lecture velocity and acceleration in non-inertial frame of reference, and we will go towards Coriolis force, one fictitious force that the rotating frame of reference like Earth do experience and which have implication in our daily life. Probably I will start this lecture with some basic understanding of Coriolis force. Still now you don't have any idea about Coriolis force. I am considering that. Suppose this is our Earth, and if we consider this is the meridian plane, then the upper one will be the northern hemisphere and the lower one will be the southern hemisphere. And our Indian subcontinent is residing in the northern hemisphere like that, and here is the Indian subcontinent like this one. So if I magnify this region, and if you look at the Indian map like this, very rough sketch of Indian map, and which is situated in the northern hemisphere, and when probably you were children, you have understood, and now also you have understood that in the Indian Ocean here and in the Bay of Bengal, in every monsoon a good number of cyclones and super cyclones do generate, and initially we get the news that the storm is approaching towards India. It will devastate Bengal, it will devastate the Odisha, and etc, etc. After some time we get that no, this is deviating towards Bangladesh. It is deviating towards Bangladesh, and with very minor casualty in India. Bangladesh, a large portion of Bangladesh has been ruined because of the cyclone. Most of the times we do get this type of news. But my question is, have you ever tried to understand that why this is happening every time? That the number of storms which are being generated in the Indian Ocean, or which is being generated in the Bay of Bengal, these are deviating towards Bangladesh, and actually they are deviating towards east. And this easterly deflection takes place because of Earth's rotation and because of physics, only physics, not geography, and this is known as Coriolis force. In Coriolis force, when you will understand this one, that you have to consider the Earth is a rotating frame of reference. So in the previous classes, when I was discussing about the frame of reference and relativity, I told that special theory of relativity, STR, special theory of relativity, they only take into account the inertial frame of references. Inertial frame of references are which frame of reference? Any frame of reference, either this is in rest or this is moving in a particular direction, constant direction, but this is not accelerated. This is a constant velocity. With constant velocity v, it is moving in a particular direction. This will be called inertial frame of reference. So what will be the non-inertial frame of reference? This one, non-inertial frame of reference, I have already told. Number one, either rotating or accelerating. Rotating frame of reference or accelerating frame of reference, that will be non-inertial frame of references. Now if you consider our solar system, in our solar system Earth is not in rest. If you consider Earth as a frame of reference, Earth is always rotating about its own axis like this. It is having some angular velocity. If the angular velocity is omega, it is rotating frame of reference. In the rotating frame of reference, this will be non-inertial frame of reference. So in the non-inertial frame of reference, the laws of physics will be a little different than in the inertial frame of references. The mathematics is a larger calculation. You can have the calculation in any book. I am trying to make you understand about the physics, so that when you will go through the mathematical part in any book, it will be easier for understanding. So any rotating frame of references, it may be considered as Earth. Earth is rotating frame of reference. In this frame of reference, with the real forces, you will experience lot of pseudo forces. The pseudo forces are centripetal force, and to balance the centripetal force, centrifugal force will appear, and additionally one new force will come into account, that is called Coriolis force. And why the Coriolis force is appearing, that from mathematics we can easily discuss. Now going towards the mathematical part, I am considering that I am having two frame of references. One frame of reference out of that is in rest. Suppose this is frame of reference S, and it is having the axis x, y, z, and unit vectors along this side is I cap, j cap, and k cap. This is in rest, and I am having another frame of reference which is rotating like that, and this is S prime frame of reference. This S prime frame of reference, suppose these are having axis x prime, and this is y prime, and this is z prime. Unit vector along x prime is I prime, along y prime it is j prime, along z prime it is suppose k prime. So if I say that I am having one point P, and what will be its description with respect to this S frame of reference, it may be considered as R. R is the radial vector, and if I join this point O prime and P, and if I join this O prime and O, I will generate new two vectors like the previous one that I already understood. The distance between two origins S and S prime, let it be considered as capital R, and this will be R prime. So from vector calculus easily we can write that small r will be equals to capital R plus R prime. That is guaranteed. Now what will be the description of this capital R, and what will be the description of this small r? The small r, that can be written as Ix plus Jy plus Kz, and this R prime, that can be written as I prime x prime plus J prime y prime plus K prime Z prime, like this. So if you now write R, this vector R, that can be written as capital R plus I prime x prime plus J prime y prime plus K prime Z prime, like this. And this is the description of this radial vector. Now from this radial vector, if you want to calculate the velocity v, if you want to calculate this velocity v, how v can be written? V can be written as dx dt, that is dr dt, simple. So dr dt, if you apply on this one, what you are going to generate? You are going to generate v equals to, for the first term it will be r dot. R dot is what? R dot equals to dr dt is r dot. So r dot plus, now the differentiation of all the terms. Differentiation of first term was I prime x prime. So if you differentiate, you have to differentiate the both. First it will be I prime x prime dot plus x prime di prime dt. Similarly j prime y prime dot plus y prime dj prime dt plus k prime z dot prime plus z prime d k prime dt, like this. Now if you take this term, that term, and that term, what you are going to get? You are going to get r prime plus I prime x dot prime plus j prime y dot prime plus k prime z dot prime plus the remaining terms. Plus the remaining terms will be, this you can take into one bracket, and remaining term will be x prime di prime dt plus j x prime, then y prime then dj prime dt plus z prime dk prime dt, like this one. And you can write this one first term as r dot plus this vector can be written as v prime, and the third term will be equals to omega cross r y, omega cross r prime, actually omega cross r prime y, where omega is the angular velocity, y. This is done in any book. Still that I am showing you the calculation so that you can easily understand this one. Give me a moment. Yes, this can be calculated easily if you consider that you are having one vector. This is the direction of omega, and this is the direction of suppose I. This is suppose this is the direction of I, and you can consider this angle is theta. So this will be I sin theta, and if you calculate the value of from this one, if you calculate the value of di dt, you will generate omega cross I. So similarly di prime dt will be omega cross I prime. So what I am getting here, I am getting here di prime dt, di prime dt will be omega cross I prime, this will be omega cross j prime, and this will be omega cross k prime. Okay, so if you take common omega, rest of the term will be, okay, I am doing it for you. From this line you can write x prime, then omega cross I prime plus y prime into omega cross j prime plus z prime into omega cross k prime. You will generate this one. You take omega common, then omega cross, actually you are getting I prime x prime plus j prime y prime plus k prime z prime, and this is nothing but r prime. So we are writing omega cross r prime. This one, this is being written here. Now you understand probably. So about the velocity, what we are getting, about the velocity expression, we are getting v equals to r dot plus v prime plus omega cross r. Now because of the rotation of the frame, one additional term is appearing here. Okay, so from the velocity part, I can easily calculate the acceleration. Acceleration, how to calculate acceleration? You can calculate from dv dt. dv dt will give you acceleration. So again differentiate it with respect to time. Differentiation of the first term will give you r double dot, double derivative. Now the second term will give you v dot prime. Now the differentiation of the third part, first omega dot, differentiation of the first cross r prime, and the differentiation of the second part, then omega cross r dot prime, this one. Okay, so again what you can do, you can easily calculate the value of this v dot prime, because you know the value of v dot. You know the value of v dot. What for you wrote v dot? You wrote v dot for I I prime x dot prime plus j prime y dot prime plus k prime z dot prime. You wrote a v dot for that. Now differentiate this v dot prime, that is dv prime dt, differentiation of this one, differentiate the whole term, differentiate this part with respect to time again. If you do that, finally you will merge to a result like I prime x double prime double dot plus x double dot prime plus j prime y double dot prime plus k prime z double dot prime. Then the remaining term will be there, and instead of that, instead of this one, what you can write, differentiating this one plus one additional term will be there. The additional term will be omega cross v prime, omega cross v prime. So instead of this v dot, you can write, for this first term you can write easily a prime, then omega cross v prime. And now this is time to put the value of this one into that result of acceleration. So from acceleration, what I am getting, acceleration in full form, I am getting, okay, you can easily also derive this, expand this term and expand that term also. Then omega dot cross r, you can expand this term, omega dot cross r, what will be omega dot cross r, and also you can expand this omega cross r dot prime. Omega cross r dot prime you can easily expand. Okay, this omega dot cross r prime, this is not required to expand. Okay, we are expanding this part now, omega cross r dot prime. So r dot prime, r prime was what? R prime was I prime x prime plus j prime y prime plus k prime z prime. This was r prime. So dr prime dt will be equals to r dot prime. Now you can differentiate it, and like that, if you are getting any term, there is dA, any term, dA dt, you can write it as omega cross a, like this. Putting these results, follow any book, finally you match to a result like v prime plus omega cross r prime. Now I can put all the results. From this one I am getting the value of r dot prime. R dot prime, I am getting the result from that. I am getting the value of v dot prime from here, putting all the values in this result, So finally the result, to sum up the things, finally the result will be acceleration will be equals to r double dot plus sorry for the interruption. I hope you can see it now. The camera was dropped down. I beg your pardon. So finally you are reaching to a result, r double dot plus a prime plus twice omega cos v prime plus one term omega dot cross r prime plus omega cross r. This simple vector calculation, you can do it anytime. Actually I am getting 1 2 3 4 5 terms. And now the physical significance of the term. What is A? A is the absolute acceleration of the particle. R double dot is the acceleration of S prime frame. A prime is the acceleration of the particle with respect to S prime frame. Then twice omega cross V prime. Twice omega cross V prime, this is the acceleration of the particle which arises out of the joint contribution of the velocity of the particle and rotation of S prime frame. Then the term omega dot cross R prime. This term arises from the acceleration of the particle with respect to S prime frame. And the last term omega cross R, this is the centripetal acceleration of the particle. The centripetal acceleration of the particle will now act accordingly. Let's see what is next. In next, we will try to summarize the things. Till what we have understood, we will try to summarize. That is, I am considering for simplicity, I am considering suppose r equals to 0. So, and for uniform rotation, this omega dot, this will also be 0. So A, the acceleration will be equals to A prime plus twice omega cross V prime plus omega cross R prime. This one. So what will be the acceleration with respect to S prime frame? That will be this one, A prime. It will result A minus twice omega cross V prime minus omega cross R prime. So from the acceleration, if you want to calculate, multiply all throughout by m. If you want to calculate the force equals to m into A. So multiply all throughout by force. In the left hand side you will be getting m A prime equals to ma minus twice m omega cross V prime minus m omega cross R prime. This one. Now as this is the force, we can name each of the terms. The first term, this m into A, this is the true force. The second term, this will be the m omega cross V prime, this will be the Coriolis force. And the third term, this will be the centrifugal force to balance the centripetal one. So already for simplicity we have considered that r equals to 0 for S prime frame. We have considered for uniform acceleration omega dot, that is omega equals to constant. So omega dot will be 0. Then we have derived the laws of force. In the laws of force we are getting that any particle which is experiencing the actual force in the S prime frame will have three components. Actually the true force, it will be accompanied by Coriolis force, and the final one is centrifugal force, which will generate to balance the centripetal force. So the mathematical pattern that I told, this is simple calculation, very simple, just you have to differentiate and you have to generate the terms. Then the physical understanding. For the physical understanding, now what you can do, you can now try the problems. The problems are very interesting with Coriolis force. That is, in, as I told, in the northern and southern hemisphere, the deflection will be in different direction. That you can actually prove and show. How? First you have to consider, suppose this is the earth, this is the meridian plane, and earth is rotating with angular velocity omega. You are in a point here, this is point P. So this will be the direction of omega, and you are considering the axis like that. You are actually in a rotating frame of reference. This is the velocity in this direction, and this is x prime, and suppose this is z prime. So in the northern hemisphere, if you calculate that the acceleration is only the acceleration due to gravity, then is g equals to a. Acceleration is actually the acceleration due to gravity. G will not be equals to a, g will be actually a prime, because already I am in the rotating frame of reference, and whatever the gravity I am experiencing, that is a prime. Now if you calculate that suppose I am having a particle here and I am throwing the particle upwards, and where it will drop down. The problem is very interesting. Suppose you are in a multi-storied building, very high, the height is significantly high, suppose 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer high. You are standing here, you are dropping a stone. If you are dropping a stone, if you ignore the friction and the deflection due to air, if you consider the free medium, you can consider that for a free fall where it will just drop down on the ground, it will be the projection. This is called the projection point, where it will going to drop on the ground if you allow it to free fall from one particular height, suppose h. But Coriolis force says that as you are in the rotating frame of reference already, than in Earth, so from a height, if you drop down the particle, it will experience the Coriolis force, and that is why it will also experience some deflection. In the northern hemisphere, the deflection will be rightwards, that is easterly deflection, and if you are in the southern hemisphere, the deflection, southern hemisphere, then the deflection will be towards east. Okay, opposite direction, west. Right, it is rightwards and it is leftwards. So if you now consider that this is our Earth, and suppose this is northern hemisphere, this is southern hemisphere, and air is flowing in this direction. In this direction air is flowing. So in the northern hemisphere it will have some deflection, and in the southern hemisphere it will have some opposite direction. Also from this side also, if the air is flowing from this side and that side, in the southern hemisphere it will have westerly deflection, and in the northern hemisphere it will have easterly deflection, like this. There are several causes of Coriolis force that you can see and experience in Earth. If you look at minutely, you can go through any video, YouTube video on Coriolis force, or any book in detail, I suggest, because there are lots of interesting problems on Coriolis force. One interesting problem is that you have to understand, make one understand that why all the rivers that are flowing in northern hemisphere, they are having one edge of the river very shallow and other edge is very deep, and that is totally opposite in southern hemisphere. There also there is the cause of Coriolis force. If you consider the Coriolis force, it will be not acting on any particular object. It will be acting, Coriolis force will be acting on any moving object which is moving or which is residing in the rotating frame of reference or non-inertial frame of reference. That the river is also the same thing. If you consider the river, the water is flowing in this direction, the flow is generating some force, and because of the force there will be some deflection, rightwards deflection in northern hemisphere, leftwards deflection in southern hemisphere, and that is why one edge will be very deep because of the erosion, as the force is acting in one edge very highly compared to the other one, and in the southern hemisphere other edge will be very deep, and because of the erosion in one side. There is one interesting problem which was often asked in the semester or in the competitive problems, competitive examinations, that show that suppose you are in the northern hemisphere and you are here and you are jumping one ball from your hand in upward direction. So what you are doing, you are just throwing the ball upwards vertically and allow it to fall down freely. So vertical up and vertical out down, it will not fall or never fall in the same point. Why? Because of the Coriolis force. The Coriolis force will force it to deflect in one side, and it will be deflected rightwards. In this direction it will be deflected, and whatever be the deflection, you have to calculate it out. Considering the a equals to g, the simple calculation, you have to put a prime equals to g and you have to calculate accordingly. Finally you will get the deflection. And if you are only allowing the free fall of the particle from the same height, the deflection will be different and it will be 4 times than the previous one in opposite direction. So the problems, if I sum up that what type of problems can be asked from Coriolis force. First, that what is Coriolis force and what is Coriolis acceleration, and because of the Coriolis force and Coriolis acceleration, why the deflection takes place, and what type of the deflections are in northern and southern hemisphere, and you have to show that the deflection is the opposite direction. Then the problem due to gravity, that gravity is only the source of acceleration here, and Earth is rotating with angular velocity. You are throwing one particle upwards direction and it is dropping freely, and you have to calculate the deflection for that. And other problem will be only you are dropping down or allowing the free fall of a particle from one certain height. In that case, you have to calculate the deflection. So this type of problems will be asked, but for general perception and understanding, first go through any YouTube video on Coriolis force. Try to understand the deflection of the storm every time generated from the in the northern hemisphere where it is deflected towards the east, and try to understand the deflection of the river which are flowing in northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, why one edge is shallow and another edge is very deep. This type of things you have to understand, and you will generate probably this is very interesting problem in non-inertial frame of reference. So with this we will solve the problems in the next class, next video. And before that I want to give you one home task, that do go through the theoretical part of Coriolis force, try to understand it and try to attack the problems, try to solve it. If you don't, then message me or WhatsApp me, or you can directly call me that this part I don't understand, make me understand again. But whatever I have done today, I have just shown you the process of calculation, not the entire calculation. Do not follow this calculation, because in this calculation lots of steps are being jumped. Do not follow this calculation. Follow the calculation which is done in your book. But before that, if you go through this video, you will have some little understanding on Coriolis force that will help you to understand the themes given in the book. Okay, so thank you for the day. In the next class, we will try to solve some problems.